Course Facilities Committee. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
Motion.
Second. Thank you.
We're also gonna have a meeting of the Golf Management Committee. Motion to open. Motion. Second. All in favor?
Do we have to announce a joint meeting as well?
You have to ask for motion to open the joint meeting.
Can we get a motion to open the joint meeting?
Motion accept.
Second.
Second.
So, thank you guys for coming. I know you had a meeting last week. We're at the point now where we think we have a pretty robust design in the clubhouse. So it was probably our best time to present to you guys so that we can eventually present, or someone presents to the selectmen. I wanted to start by showing what the mission statement was of this group. Basically, it was for us to do the research, to build the clubhouse, and report back to you guys. How we did it was we conducted a feasibility study of how would we approach this project. We put a team together with a pretty diverse skill set so that we had some people that could comment and have some expertise on how we build stuff. And I think we did a pretty good job with that. We had our first meeting in February of this year. And we started to partner with Catalyst Architects, with Kurt Raber, and he included Gardner and Tim Garish, to do a lot of the site work, like car paths and things like that. Really, we went through an iterative process. We designed, the first design was probably a little too robust for what our bank accounts look like. And we kept going through that process, eventually paring it down to, could it go any smaller and still meet the goals that were asked of us for the property, for the golf course, and to grow for the future. Last thing we did was we did some research on what other golf courses locally would do. A few of us visited Southers Marsh and Carver. We looked at Old Scotland Links. We talked to some folks over there about what they did as a process, because they originally started with a trailer and over time built a clubhouse. So we used the internet, obviously, to look at different designs. And then we get a lot of feedback from folks not in this committee, but just ideas of what the shape of the clubhouse would look like. So I think we did it. The first 2 months was a lot of effort into getting Kurt the right information so that he could start to design the process. We set some goals, like we said, what are the current needs? We looked through the NGF report, and I'm sure all of you guys have seen that report. It's a robust report. There's a lot of information in there. We know we had to service larger groups. Could be 144 golfers. I kept hearing that number throughout this whole process. We know we needed food and beverage improvements and a better presentation overall for the entire project. I put this slide in here not for you guys to placate anybody or to put blame on anybody, but this is important. What we have right now is not a clubhouse. It's a double wide trailer where people can pay for their green space. Presentation is past its time. It was built in 1998. It's in a state of disrepair. The golf course in the report got glowing reviews from the National Golf Foundation. They helped us establish sort of a framework for a budget. But in the executive summary of that report, I saw this quote that our clubhouse is a clear mismatch to the high quality golf course. And I thought that was compelling for us to use as weaponry to build this, to make this come to fruition. So this isn't a long presentation. I just wanted to show that this is what we currently do, and eventually get to the point where we should be someday. So, sorry, I went too fast. So that's a typical day when there's a larger outing. That has to get better, right? So what we did, we started sketching. Kurt and his team would come to us every couple of weeks, show us versions of where we should put things and how the topography would tolerate building a clubhouse. You can see this is where the double wide trailer is. You see additional car parking. This would be a potential car barn. And this is clubhouse where that tent, which we just showed on 2 slides earlier. This is another iteration, like we talked about. It's an iterative process. We just kept taking ideas and trying to flush them out as we went. And this is where the clubhouse is up on where the practice green. And I think, and we'll talk about this later, a practice facility or a short game area, however we want to describe it, is something that we can hold off on into a phased approach. And we'll kind of talk about at the end when we make our recommendations to you guys. We'll talk about that. So I know you can't see, I handed out some blown up pictures. I hope you can read those pictures, but where we're at is, this is kind of the design, and we can turn it around, we can shape it different ways. We being the architects, and we were just taking these recommendations as we went. And you can see where the original double wide trailer is in the car barn. And then again, part of the process was just changing the design, tweaking it, turning it in different directions. This is where we just took that same footprint here, moved it up here and spun it so that we were overlooking the 18-fold. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. And then we started to put pieces together, right? John Alvarez talked about the kitchen, what the needs of the kitchen would be, what kind of coolers we would need. We were at that level of detail. Dana provided a ton of feedback about what the pro shop would be. So between the group, we found that we had the details, we had them ironed out, and then it was just a matter of, and I used this slide because it was a matter of Kurt just picking and moving these little chunks around until we all agreed that this is probably the best setup for the future clubhouse. So this is what I had printed out for you, and all the guys on our team have seen this. This is where we kind of landed, where the indoor space, kind of pavilion space, all this gray is decking. Wayne, correct me if I say this wrong. This is the kitchen right here.
Correct.
Restrooms. This is kind of like a lobby getting into the property right here. There are other entrances along the property as well. Pro shop with an office for the GM and for head pro. And then, the landscaping and all that stuff is negotiable and also redesignable. But at this point, I think the real meat of this project is the clubhouse. These are some renderings of what the outside of the clubhouse would look like. Some of the feedback we heard from a couple of the selectmen, and just in general, we've heard that we're a little farming community. We don't want this to stick out like a sore thumb. So we had Kurt design the aesthetics of the building to be in line with that theme, okay? This is the car barn. It says proposed clubhouse, but I believe this is definitely the car barn. This building will be something very simple. It'll be enough to hold whatever number of carts we have. It'll need electricity if we choose to go with an electric fleet. It probably won't need to be heated. It probably won't need any potable water. This is a simple shell, and there's a bunch of different ways to skin this problem. This is the cost breakdown. It's not up to date, but I really wanted to show it because of the process we went through. Like, we put a lot of detail into square footage, how much per square foot, what kind of design gets us to the budget. So the whole time we did this, all we talked about was budget. Like, we knew we had to design this building so that we would fit it in and it would be accepted by the members of the town and the board of selectmen. We're waiting for Kurt from Catalyst. We've had some difficulty getting us pricing, official pricing from a preferred vendor that he usually deals with to give us budget pricing. I emailed him today. I haven't heard back from him, but I'm hoping that within a couple of weeks, with maybe a little bit of more pressure on him, that he'll get us those numbers. But I just put this in here and handed this out as an example of the process we had to go through for each part of the process, each piece of the project. There's stuff in here, emergency power generator. That's for like site work. There's I want to say there was like some overhead cost that we didn't even know that existed. Permitting fees, things like that are in here. Just for everyone to understand that this isn't just picking up a building, putting it down, walking away. There's a lot that goes into this project. And if I'm telling you guys stuff you already know, that's great. This presentation can be handed through email to a variety of folk in the town to tear through it. This is what we recommend. Because of budget being a front burner issue, we believe we should start with building the clubhouse as phase one. And then putting it on the practice green is where everyone I've talked to is, that's the preferred location. I think we're all in agreement in that space. Moving it to the practice green would allow us to use the double wide trailer while we were under construction. We considered things like portable restrooms and the cost of that if we put it in the same space that the current double wide trailer place you pay for your greens fees. If we put it in that same spot, then we would have to bring in the rentals of decent porta potties. It would get expensive quickly. We're thinking, Kurt's told us that this is a year-long project if we have a mild winter and there isn't a lot of disruption. The very next step should be a car barn, so that we can take better care of our golf carts. Not part of the scope of this committee, but a practice area, and then robust paving opportunity for the entire golfers that come. I've been in that parking lot, it's full. Parking's not stopping golfers from filling up tee times right now, so I think it's a lower priority than a short game area or even a cart storage area. So thanks for taking the time today. That's all I have. This is open for questions now.
Excellent. So I just want to thank Rich and the rest of the committee for the time you did spend doing all this extra work. We as the golf committee have had a vision for a long time, but never really took the time to get into like square footage. What do we really need? Where could it be located? How is it situated in the office? So I just want to thank you guys for all the work you've been doing the past X number of months and getting us to this point. And hopefully we're all at a point where we can gather town support and keep it moving forward.
Thank you. Well, any questions? Wayne has a robust breakdown on square footage if you want to see it. He wrote a binomial theorem.
Keep in mind, Neil, keep in mind that, if you look at that, you can't use those figures. Look at the square footage they have on there. I think it's
7,500.
Yeah,
7,400.
it's double what.
It's almost double. Right now, we have,
It's like 30.
what Rich just showed you, a total of 4,950, but keep in mind, can you put that slide back up,
This one?
no, the layout, the floor plan, right there. You see the back part, the yellow, and then the shaded part. The shaded part's pavilion. The yellow part, which would be that and the whole front. That's 3,720 square feet. That's a finished product. That, based on the NGF, they had $5 a square, $500 a square foot. That's for a finished area. The pavilion, which again is 1,200 square feet, should probably be maybe 200. Yeah, half that. So I don't think they took that in consideration. I know they didn't take into consideration what that square footage was. So the square footage is probably half that, and 3/4 is a finished product. Even the finished area, you've got a lot of corridors, there's not much of a finished product in there other than the pro shop and the bathrooms.
I like the entrance.
Yeah. And the entrance, of course, but the rest is gonna be hallways and, the kitchen and things like that. So I'm saying, don't look at these figures and say, I think this, 7 million or something, or whatever this is.
Kind of an open space with availability to close it in later if you want. Is that what?
And we talked about that, like I forget what course it was, we ended up putting like boat isinglass down on the 100 days, they would just unfold it and put it down and never really, technically enclosed it.
Crossroads does
Yeah.
that too. They only use half of their clubhouse most of the time, and unless they have a function, they take out the divider wall and use the rest.
Well, between the two buildings, they've got, it looks like, I don't know, not sliding glass doors, but but it could be a 9-foot opening with a,
Open it up.
yeah, open it up there, which would make a big difference.
Yeah, between those two areas, it houses pretty much our biggest tournaments. You know,
You get a 12-foot
underneath.
Right, it's a very versatile space.
Yeah, you get a 12-foot opening.
Yeah.
When we went to Summers Marsh, one of the other approaches we had was to put the carts under the building. And that was getting a little dicey, because we all agreed later on that, one, they said that they wish they made it bigger, the cart store, because if they ever expand, they're gonna have to build another building. But a steel building out front is probably the cheapest way to store your carts. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that, and there's probably a variety of vendors to find the best pricing for something like that. I think he had it in for between 800,000 and $1 million, and I find that to be a big number for something that simple. I just built one. I built one a little smaller than that, with office space, plumbing, OSHA requirements, like eye wash stations with heated water for $1 million and without the parking. So, and that's a nice building.
I think
the
Rich,
shell.
Don't need any plumbing.
I think Rich, where they're proposing to put it, we're proposing on the putting green, putting them underneath would be almost impossible with the elevations.
And we don't know what's underneath the putting green.
Well, look at the elevations now though. 7 goes up, 1 goes down.
And to your point, Wayne, we
Underneath,
discussed
I don't
all
think
that,
you could.
right? We talked about
Yeah.
topography.
I don't think you could.
We talked about having to do test pits to see what's underneath. We talked about having surveys done. And it just got more complicated as we went through this process. So it's fair, but, and that's what when I presented to you guys, I wanted to reiterate how many times we went through a design change. And it was, not that we want extra credit for it, but it was a lot. And, we put a lot of burden on the architect. Unfortunately, things stalled a little bit once the summer came with our relationship with Kurt, probably vacations and things like that. But we're hoping to have some better pricing for this most recent design in 2 big chunks, car barn and clubhouse.
In worst case, we construct the practice room later, right? And we deal without it. Can't we just run without?
I mean,
Is that the idea?
I think relocating the practice green,
You don't have to.
my humble opinion, I think we can do it after it's all done. But I wouldn't want to operate a whole season without a practice green.
You do like a temporary one, just for a season or something like that, and put it where maybe your permanent one will be, and then put a smaller version of it, and then you can expand it, something like that.
I think the most important thing is not to lose a customer because of this project.
Yeah.
So I think you have to use prudence to say, what do they come here for? Guys like to roll putts, golfers like to roll putts before they play. Maybe we move the putting green first before we do anything else. I think at this point, it looks like it's around $100,000 to build a new putting green of that magnitude. So that's another question. That's a real big putting green. Does it have to be that same size? If it is, that's great, but it's a lot. And when you build it, you build it around the future of a practice area. I think we have a pretty good solution. Without nickel and diming this and turning this into something that doesn't match the quality of the golf course, I think we nailed the design of it. And it fits the needs in the future growth and the NGF report talks about future growth, and it's in the food and beverage business, right? Because you can't fit too many more tee times unless I'm misread the report.
No, we're in the fortunate position where people away from golf, right? We're just about maxed out. The customers are there, so it's now enhancing their experience, and also taking the revenue to afford this project on behalf, and just making the existing customers that keep returning have a better experience with us. And I hope we get the word out, get a few more people, but like I said, unfortunately, we're not begging for it. To your point earlier, the quote that's in the NGF report, we want this to match the quality of everything else that we have had for the past 28 years now.
I like that quote.
I
know.
read the report twice. When I got it 3 or 4 months ago, and then I never read the executive summary, and I read it this morning, and I said, I gotta put that in.
That's what we could, I know I was tracking them down, but obviously, before we make this too public, we want to make sure we have the right square footage and.
Sure.
That number of times, I don't want people seeing a number that we don't even think is today correct. Right?
Yeah, he was supposed to include those additional costs too. For,
He hasn't gone back to
Right.
us, that's unfortunate.
no, I mean, but in that final number, not only is it gonna correct the square footage, but it'll have the additional cost of.
Well, you know what it is?
putting green.
We don't go up house.
You just gotta get voted on and
That's
then
really
move
good.
forward and go.
49
That's the whole thing, we can't drag our feet. Once we get the green light, then just gotta move forward.
I'll email Kurt again tomorrow, and I will tell him that we're pushing closer to town meeting. We need to have accurate numbers so that we can present this to the board of selectmen in the town. And I'll copy you on it, because I know Dave's still in Alaska, so.
Okay, yeah, so that way you can have pretty much a package of all of this, as accurate as you feel it can be able to present to the selection and finance committee and keep it moving forward.
Do my best to get Kurt to respond.
Yeah, that's great. You've been asking for like 6 weeks now, at least, right?
Yeah. He made some promises we were supposed to have 2 Mondays ago. So, is there anything else that we can do to help kind of put this to rest so that you guys can take it forward? Are you missing anything?
Do we need to vote on it or anything? How's that?
What's that?
Do we need to vote on it or anything?
No, I mean, I think it looks great, what you guys came up with and all that. Design of it, the porch going around, especially if it goes where the putting green is now.
You guys have like, I say this whole package that you have this like a PDF you could share?
Let me, I think that might have been, Kurt might have brought those copies to us. I have Dave's copy. I can probably scan it and provide a PDF.
I might have them.
I was gonna say, I thought Sydney emailed them.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of them.
I
But yeah,
looked for
I'll
that,
take a
I
quick
couldn't
picture.
find it in my,
The outdoor pavilion dining area and the indoor dining area, is that relatively the same size as the tent now?
This was sent to us.
I sent that to you, okay.
I think it says the seating size on it. Small,
I think it was Andrew.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
I see what you're saying, like basically
You know what I mean?
It's supposed to hold 140 people between the pavilion and the 2 rooms.
Yeah, so pretty much the same size as what the tent is.
Alright, then the deck is for the overflow, you could fit
Yeah.
another substantial amount of people on the outside.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, but besides that, everything looks great.
I mean, I think if this happens, it really elevates the
Yeah, it just keeps our golf here.
the brand of the golf course, right? It really elevates it. And I'm sure you guys have heard feedback about the condition of the clubhouse over the years.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Pretty much the first thing, it's like, oh, the course is very nice. Why don't they do something with it, so,
always,
yeah.
especially when it's hot in there.
So then, thank you very much, and I think once we get those tweaks from Kurt, and we have that, and I think when it comes to us, on our side, it can be, the next vote we have to do that, is, we also completely agree with this. Like I said, it's large enough, it's not too small, it's not too big, it's kind of, the Goldilocks and the 3 bears, so we're right in the middle.
Right. Well, that's all we had. Anything else you guys want to add to it? On our team?
Just that we would, just to impress upon, the people that are voting and coming up with this, that what we have there isn't like, oh, right, we're not gonna do this, and that can just keep going forward. That really something has to be done, regardless, that costs money,
Yeah,
yeah, so,
The bare minimum would be to take down what's there and replace it as is, but why
With a
spend
second-
that
yeah.
amount of money to do that?
yeah,
Without, I don't want to minimize it, but not a whole lot more to get something that'll really get us through the next 25, 30 years.
mhm.
Maybe we could have a golf outing to raise money.
It's not a great idea. No, really, about this budget, but if you could have, they could have the town use the infrastructure around it, paving
Well,
he says that's possible.
That's definitely possible, but as they was talking about before, that, that's a fee as well. It's not free.
Oh, I realize that.
Yeah.
But it'd be a much cheaper rate.
Correct.
No, I think at the end of this journey we're on, if it gets approved, that's when those details will have to start to be ironed out.
Exactly.
Vetted. Who's gonna do what? Because if I understand correctly, it's prevailing wage because it's a municipal project. So then we had some ideas, and I wish I had brought this up earlier. I forget who brought it up. It might have been Dave. But someone brought up building this modular, where you buy the building and then have somebody come assemble it. So it's definitely a thought we should at least, I forget what, so, and I wanted to ask you because they said it can only be so wide to go over the road.
So where I work, we actually just built a 4,000 square foot modular building. It came on the road on trailers. finished product, $700 a square foot. We probably could have stick built it for less than we just paid for getting a modular building.
Say that again?
700,
Could have stick.
700 is a lot.
We
Stick-built
ended
was
up paying
about
we ended up paying $2.8 million for a 4,000 square foot building. So that's $700 a foot.
That's a lot.
Now, that's pretty decent. High, it's in the school, so that's high-end finishes that can withstand use every day. But that's, to get the site ready, to have it shipped in, because they built in the Midwest, they shipped it all halfway across the country. And there's tons of shipping costs.
Sure.
A couple of giant cranes stood up into place.
They still gotta put together.
Finish work and all that. You have to then underneath all the electrical, fire alarms, plumbing, everything else. It's basically the same. So my point of saying that, in that specific instance, it really didn't save anything on the construction of the building itself. I mean, it's certainly worth looking at, and mentioned at the current beginning as well, and he was kind of on the fence of, you know, it's an option, but would it really save you money? He wasn't convinced that it would without really looking into it.
That's good to know.
But Jeff, you look at this building, there's not a lot there. Right? It really isn't.
No.
Your kitchen and bathroom, it's basically.
It's not a tough build, it's fairly simple.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we're talking about it and turning over stones, right?
Right.
If we didn't bring it up, we wouldn't even have an idea of what the
2x6 right?
pros and cons are.
Right.
Well, actually, the code.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if it's unheated, but that, that would have to be for loading.
Yeah.
That was Catalyst, just throwing out there, are they handling getting the contractor to do it, are they doing everything? Is that how?
I think they'll work with us as part of that process, but we don't have an answer on that.
So our contract with them was essentially to get us this far.
Okay.
However, when we did the RFP to select them, it was phase 1, phase 2, completely up to us, the town. So phase 1 is to get us this far. Phase 2 would be, do we want to retain them to do the actual building specifications to get it out on the street, even personal side and seeing it. You know, I did it that way on purpose, that if we're happy with them, we want to continue it, we can. But then we don't have, we're not locked into it either. If we wanted to say, thank you very much, Kurt, we love this design, and then somebody else is going to design the bid for us, we'd have that option as well.
Yeah, at this
Or we
point,
can put it out to bid.
I don't know if the fellow would retain it again because of the lack of communication for the last couple of months.
10% for the project,
Yeah,
$350,000 just to oversee it. Then someone will let you to oversee it.
Well, that includes just the drawing, all the
I mean, up
specifications,
until
the bid details.
You guys haven't been, it's been great. And then recently, it's just.
That's like.
Really good
It's
check.
radio sound, best way to describe
This
it.
is, the OPM makes sure you build it as drawn,
Right,
but the architect is going to draw every last detail, every last wiring, every last bit of the roof.
right, what type of refrigerators, what type
Right,
of,
so that's what that fee is.
Well, that's not- that would be on the plans. Like when we get a set of as-bills from whoever's, he's gonna draw plans, correct?
Correct. But I think that
We
we're
can't-
doing the such detail that you're gonna have a packet this big that's gonna go out to vendors and say, this is what we want to build it. Part of his fee is coming up with that 500-page packet.
Okay.
Everybody has a bit of it.
Exact same specs.
Down to that duplex outlet with the white cover on it, you know, it's gonna be in the specifications.
People are looking for
But
it.
at that point, can we
It could be a good time.
ties with him?
Well, I mean, that'll be part of phase 2, you can make phase 2 as much or as little as you want to.
Right.
Construction oversight is always kind of like an add-on to that, so really the way it would work, the next stage would be the actual design to go out to bid.
Crazy.
And then do you want construction administration from the same firm or somebody else at that point in time?
How would we manage change orders? Those are terrifying sometimes.
So any project that's over $1.5 million, you have to have an owner's project manager. That's one of the big things that they'll do too, is like, they're looking to make sure that what's designed is built. And then if there are proposed change orders, one of their main jobs is, okay, do we really need it? What in their mind does the independent person on our side, what could be the potential solution? And is the proposed price accurate or appropriate for what they're proposing? So it's not just us saying, oh, that's $50,000, okay, and it's really an $18,000 change.
Right.
So that's where the OPM comes in. You know, the state requires it on jobs of $1.5 million.
And I think he has that in there.
There's an OPM, yes, there is.
Yeah.
It's right above well, there's OPM, prevailing wage fees at 5%. They're usually 3 to 5%, depending on the complexity of the job.
Looks like you're ready to build it.
Good,
I love detail.
okay.
Whether it's prevailing wage plays a factor, unfortunately, because we have everybody in town who's more than qualified to do this project, right? This is a basic project. This is not rocket science. I think the landscape is more difficult than the building. Absolutely, without a question. From getting the plumbing, the electric, the carpentry, everything down there. It's a very easy project.
Is there any other option besides prevailing wage? Like, can it go to a vote to like a town? No. And that's just like hard to pass that.
The only thing I was
Municipality.
kind of looking into, there's one specific woman up at the state who oversees like prevailing wage on public projects. Is there the way, could a vendor themselves say, listen, I want to volunteer X to it, right? And then essentially give up a certain amount. The prevailing wage is more about protecting the employees, not the owner of the company. So I don't know if there's any wiggle room in saying, you as the owner, if you don't want to make a profit, that's fine. But if you're hiring Joe off the street, you've got to pay Joe $65 an hour or whatever the prevailing wage is. That's the part that, kind of threading the needle with, because you don't want them, even if the employee says, hey, it's my town, I'm fine not making that. I don't know if they legally could. But I think it's worth the question. I'm going to ask you.
We had questions on like, all right, if we built the building and then the deck wasn't actually considered the same project as that, would the deck be like, because it's a big deck, and is that prevailing wage and things like that,
So the prevailing wage is public construction.
Right.
So I mean, deck is still considered
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah.
Take it apart, right?
Yeah, if we pick it apart and.
Could a town employee be the oversight person of a project like this, like our building commissioner? And
Potentially, yes.
you have, I'm one of the inspectors for electrical, he's a building inspector. You could parlay people like that together and oversee this project that would cost the town minimal. And they're here every day. I don't mean playing golf, but they're here in town, driving by there every day.
So I think
And have a vested interest in it too.
we could definitely save them on the OPM services and cooking the works fees under that scenario. Absolutely.
Right. You'd save a lot of money. You'd save the price of a putting green and then some. Easily.
These are things I think we can definitely work through as we get it going and try.
Right, I agree.
To work with that, get a little creative, get some hopefully some local vendors who are interested in bidding and helping us.
Right, right. There's plenty of vendors in the area that, we don't have to have a crew coming in from Boston with fencing off the property, which you might have to do that anyway, but.
So they don't have to be a union company, they just have to pay prevailing wage.
Exactly. Because even if you're not a union shop working on a public thing, they still file the same paperwork with the state. Certified payrolls, they call it, just certifying what they paid every worker on that site for a week or 2 weeks.
It's just like building a house, this isn't that complex.
No.
To your point, there's probably plenty of guys.
Because that
Oh,
whole,
locally.
that whole
Fancy
back
houses.
section, the pavilion and the dining room are on grade, so there's only foundation below grade on the whole front section, so. Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's one thing you can hire a contractor it's up to them if they wanna hire local vendors, and they would have to be paid prevailing wage. Owners of the company don't have to.
So what if the town self-performed, like, let's say the deck area, you kept it out of the scope of the initial work, and you had the town self-perform it?
Yeah, you can put in or not in the specification of whatever you wanted. I mean, that could be, say it's framed or ready to go, and then next to maybe it's ready to accept the deck, so to speak. But the contractor, the general contractor, or carpentry subcontractor, that's just not part of their scope. We do the work, town craftsmen do it, town employee craftsmen.
Would it also be something to consider to put in the bid package and addendum, so that way it could be put in the project if money is available? Because when you start going outside the change order, that's when the contractor kind of has it. And I found like when we did the school project that we had a list of addendum items that if the money was available, and you had to rank them in order of 1 through whatever 10, they would start with number 1, and that would be the first one put into the project. They would have to bid that in the initial package.
Exactly, you're right, John. They call them like alternates. You do have to put them in order. You can't pick 1 and 3.
Right, you have to start with 1 and then 2, and then
Pick 1, then 2, then 3. Right. So, but that's, if there were things, say the deck, for example, that could be, add alternate number 1. And they say that, again, completely making this up, the deck is 85,000. Like, well, we can work in town, not spend 85,000, so we're not doing alternate 1.
Right.
But then if they say, hey, it's 25 grand, no, it's worth it to just spend 25 grand, you guys do why, yes.
True.
So there could be certain things, and that would be the architect could help us pick what are things that, you don't want to have so many of them that you turn the potential bidder away either, and say, how am I going to piecemeal this? They want to know.
Well, they just want to raise the prices for everything else.
Right. So it's really the things that you could live without or do on your own.
Yep.
If you didn't want that.
Yep.
All right, this is a great transition point, I should say, at that point. From what you guys have done, you're not getting it just off finalized, you're ready to move forward. So, in a good spot.
I'm hoping Kurt gives us some numbers, we'll share, I'll replace that slide with Kurt's numbers and we'll move from there.
Yeah, because from where I'm at, that's the only thing we need to bring it to the selectmen. No.
Okay, nothing else? Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Motion to adjourn. I mean, motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.